All right, everyone, welcome back to Crypto Brain. And before we dive into today's market breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Because here we analyze the crypto markets using logic to market structure and liquidity behavior. Rather than you want to stay ahead of developing crypto narratives. This is exactly where you want to be. Now, today's discussion focuses on a token that has recently started gaining massive attention across the trading community, and that token is cryptocurrency SPX6900. And SPX6900, the market is extremely aggressive because many traders are now discussing the possibility of a massive expansion cycle that could potentially transform this asset into one of the fastest growing meme coins in the current market environment, which is exactly why today's headline is simple but powerful. SPX 6900 100x pump. And when markets begin forming narratives like this, experienced traders immediately start paying very close attention. Because in the crypto market, narratives often move faster than fundamentals, and when a strong narrative combines with liquidity, growth, and community attention, the result can sometimes be explosive price movements that appear almost impossible to predict for the average trader. But for analysts watching market structure closely, the early signals usually appear long before the majority of the market even realizes what is happening. Over the last several trading sessions, analysts have started noticing structural changes inside the SPX 6900 market, and the first signal that stands out clearly is the behavior of trading volume, because volume represents participation, and participation represents capital, and whenever we begin seeing expanding volume while price begins stabilizing or slowly trending upward, it often signals that liquidity may be quietly entering the market. Retail traders usually react as the move has already started, but whales operate using a completely different strategy. Large investors prefer positioning themselves during consolidation phases when the market appears quiet because this allows them to accumulate positions without attracting attention from the broader trading community. This behavior is known as whale accumulation, and it is one of the most important signals analysts monitor when evaluating early-stage pump theses. Because whales rarely chase price upward, instead they quietly absorb available supply during slow market phases, and once enough supply has been absorbed, the market structure becomes far more sensitive to incoming demand. When whales accumulate, they rarely execute one massive order. Instead, they distribute their buying activity across multiple smaller transactions, allowing them to build positions gradually while avoiding sudden price spikes. And as this process continues, something extremely important begins forming beneath the surface of the market, what professional traders refer to as a liquidity base. Liquidity bases are critical for momentum expansion, because once the majority of available selling pressure has been absorbed, even moderate buying activity can suddenly push prices upward much faster than before. And this is often the exact moment where explosive coin allies begin forming. Another important factor behind the growing attention around SPX 6900 is the narrative itself, because the crypto ecosystem has historically shown that community-driven assets can grow extremely fast once a social momentum begins building. And many traders are now comparing the current narrative surrounding SPX 6900 with the early stages of other meme coins, including anti-cryptocurrency, Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu-driven liquidity cycles can become once the narrative spreads across the market. Inside the meme coin ecosystem, community attention is one of the strongest growth catalysts, because when communities rally behind a token's social media activity increases, trading participation expands, and liquidity begins centering the market at a much faster pace. And this combination of narrative expansion, participation growth, and liquidity acceleration is often what fuels the most aggressive pump cycles in crypto history. Right now, analysts observing the SPX 6900 market are paying attention to several signals simultaneously. The first is expanding participation through trading volume. The second is behavior that resembles accumulation from larger holders, and the third is the rapid expansion of the meme narrative across the broader trading community. When these three elements begin aligning, markets often enter what traders call the early discovery phase, which is the period where price begins searching for a completely new valuation level, and during discovery phase is vola. Volatility typically increases dramatically because the market is attempting to determine where the asset should realistically be valued. However, experienced analysts always remain disciplined during these periods because volatility works in both directions. While powerful upward moves can appear quickly, corrections can also occur just as rapidly, which is why professional traders focus more on structural signals rather than emotional excitement. The most intelligent strategy during developing pump narratives is observation, watching volume behavior, monitoring whale activity, and paying attention to whether the liquidity base beneath the market continues strengthening, because those signals usually appear before major expansions in price begin. If participation continues increasing, if large holders remain active, and if the narrative surrounding SPX6900 continues spreading across the crypto community, the probability of a stronger expansion cycle gradually becomes higher, and once public attention fully shifts toward an asset, momentum can accelerate extremely quickly. Historically, the most explosive moves in the crypto market rarely begin when everyone is already watching. They usually begin quietly, while only a small group of analysts recognize the structural signals developing beneath the surface, and by the time the broader market finally notices what is happening, a significant portion of the move has already taken place. For now, the smartest approach is patience, observation, and analysis, watching how liquidity behaves, tracking how price reacts around resistance levels, and monitoring whether whale accumulation remains consistent, because those indicators usually reveal whether the market is preparing for a much larger movement. And if the current structure continues evolving the way it is now, the coming weeks could become extremely interesting for the market surrounding entity cryptocurrency. Quarried. The SPX6900, you found this analysis valuable. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more professional crypto breakdowns. Stay analytical, stay informed, and remember, in crypto, the biggest opportunities often begin long before the majority of the market even realizes what is happening.